Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, no, we're not done. You get a huge dose of personal initiative. That's the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together into one bundle package: philosophy, mindset, method, masterclass, book, and show. It is this one you're listening to right now that is known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Congratulate yourself on being here, because today's topic is how to stop worrying in advance. How do you stop putting a down payment on worry? Money that you can't get back, a non-refundable down payment on worry, because once you start putting some energy into worrying, even if you decide to stop, the money that you've already put into it, the resources you've already put into worrying, you don't get that back. There is no refund on the deposit you're putting into worrying. So I'm going to help you with that here today. I mean, some people know this feeling. You may label it as anxiety, which is basically fear in advance. That's what worry is. You're fearing something, but it didn't happen yet. So you're just experiencing the fear before it even happens. I don't know why you would want to do that, but this is something that people do all the time in life. It's part of our wiring as human beings, that we feel fear, and we start feeling the fear in advance of the actual thing happening that we are fearing. That's when we experience anxiety. That's when we experience worry. Cultivating that negative energy within yourself before the thing that you want to feel negative about has even occurred, if it's going to occur at all. So today's masterclass is about learning how to calm your mind and remain present more often in your day-to-day, instead of time traveling into stuff that hasn't even occurred yet. If that's something that would be interesting to you, if that's something that would interest you, if that's something that would benefit your life, if that would make you better, if you could stop time traveling and feeling negative about something that hasn't even occurred yet, then I think what I'm going to share here today will help you out. But you could be the judge of that. So let's get into the point so you can judge. Point number one, the topic once again is how to stop worrying in advance. Number one, stay in the present moment. See, while there may be, we need to put this on the table. There may be some pending situations on your mind, some things that are coming up, some things that you consider to be inevitable, that you know are definitely going to happen. I'm not telling you to act like they're not going to happen, but here's the fact. You can't do anything about them right now. I mean, if they're a pending situation, it's an inevitability that you can't stop from occurring. You just know it's going to occur, and that's what's causing the anxiety in you. Listen, feeling anxiety about it or worrying about it is not going to change the fact that it is actually going to happen however it's going to happen, which I'm just going to assume that if you're feeling anxiety or worry about something, that you've exhausted all of your options to do something about it. Everything that you could do about it, I'm going to assume that you've already done it. Okay, now if there's something that you can do, you haven't done it yet, then I would say, okay, pause this and go do that. But if you have already done everything that you could, okay, there's nothing to worry about. Worrying is not going to make it any difference, not going to make it any better. Okay, you can't do anything about what's going to happen if you've already done whatever you could about what's going to happen. Worrying in advance, again, as I said, some people know it as anxiety, is time traveling. And the problem with time traveling being you're getting out of the present moment and you're thinking about something that already happened in the past, or you're thinking about something that you're anticipating happening in the future. The problem with time traveling is that you cannot affect anything while you're time traveling. You cannot affect what has already happened in the past. You cannot change it. And what is going to happen in the future, you can predict as best you can what's going to happen in the future, but you can't really do anything about it because the future hasn't occurred yet. So you can't really do anything to change it. And even if you think you're 100% sure what's going to happen in the future is going to happen, until it is actually happening, meaning in the moment of happening, there's not really anything that you can do about it. And even the things that you think are going to happen in the future, whether it's something that you want to happen or something that you don't want to happen, you can't always be 100% sure that it's actually going to take place. I mean, any of you ever done any futures betting, any gambling on something that's going to happen in the future? There's gambling. People gamble on who's going to win certain elections in politics. People gamble on which teams are going to win championships in sports. People gamble every year on the March Madness NCAA tournament, which in 2020 didn't even occur. But every other year when it's happened, people gamble on that. And most of the time people gamble on it, they end up losing more money than they make. So just because you think or you believe you're quote unquote sure that something's going to happen in the future, it doesn't always happen the way that you expected it to happen. And even if it does, You can't affect that situation until it is actually occurring. So it makes it a waste of your energy to time travel out of the present moment, because the present moment is the only time ever in life, only time ever that you can actually affect what's going on. You can never. There's no person listening to me, no person in our past, and no person, well, we'll say for now, no person in our future, given the information we have right now. Maybe that'll change at one point and this will become irrelevant. But as far as we know, as of the moment of this recording, it is impossible for any human being to time travel and change what has occurred or what would occur. Not what will occur, but what would occur based on our best guesses, based on our best theories. Because often, again, as I said, many times we think something's going to happen and it doesn't even happen the way that we thought it would. I mean, anyone who's listening to me right now, you think you have the perfect clairvoyance at predicting what's going to happen in the future, and I suggest you move to a state where gambling is legal, if you don't already live in one, and just start betting every dollar you have on things that you can predict for the future. I mean, you become a very rich individual if you had really had the ability to do that. But since you're not willing to do futures betting on everything that you're predicting for the future, then you know as well as I know that your guesses for what are going to happen in the future are just that. They're guesses. What would happen, not what will happen. Because again, if you could predict it, you'd be betting on it. Even if you make a prediction that comes true, if you really believed it, you would have bet every dollar you had on it back then before it happened, right? Now, with that, all that being said, again, time traveling. The only thing you can affect is the present moment. So if you're time traveling into the past or time traveling into the future, you are taken away from the very place where you actually have the power to do something, which is right now. As human beings, remember, we can only focus on one thing at a time. We can only be in one place at a time. Mentally, we can only be in one place at a time. So if physically you're right here in the now, which is the only moment where you can ever do anything about anything, but mentally you are in 3 weeks ago or 10 years ago or 3 weeks from now or 10 minutes from now, then you can't do anything about right now, because mentally you're not in the right place. Your mind and your body are not congruent. You are not aligned, doing the same thing at the same time, which means any action you take will not be with your full force. You will not get full results out of it. You probably won't be able to do anything because your focus is not in the right place. Only in the movie Back to the Future has anyone ever been able to go back and change things. And I think there was another movie, The Butterfly Effect. I don't know if that was the name of the movie, one with Ashton Kutcher. I don't even remember the name of the movie. I think it was called The Butterfly Effect. But those are just movies, and we know that they're not real, right? The only way you can do something anytime in life is to do something now. The time is always the same. Time is always now. 5:30, 4:15, 12:37. The time is always now. That's the only time you can ever affect anything that's happening in the life of you or the life of anyone else. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to stop worrying in advance. Point number 2, do the fear setting exercise. Now, I know everybody's heard of goal setting, but this is the fear setting exercise. What the fear setting exercise is, if you don't know what that is, I heard this concept, first person I heard talk about it was Tim Ferriss, the author of the 4-Hour series of books. And the way he explained it is very simple. The same way that we all know goal setting, we sit down and think about all the things that we want to achieve and we write them down, and we try to hold ourselves accountable to them. Fear setting is, instead of writing down the things that you want to achieve, you write down all the worst case scenarios that could occur, all the things that you're worried about, all the things that you're feeling anxiety about. You write them down. What is the worst possible outcomes if everything goes terribly in the situation I'm dealing with right now, what I'm focused on right now? What's the worst possible outcome that could occur? Write all of that down, and then you ask yourself, okay, if that worst case scenario does come to fruition, it probably won't, but let's just say that it does, how can I recover from that situation? How can I get myself back to where I'm at right now if the worst case scenario occurs? How can I get back to neutral? How can I get back to ground zero? Then you write down all the things you could do to get yourself back to ground zero. Then you ask yourself, is it possible that I could actually do these things? Could I actually get back to ground zero if this happens? Hopefully the answer is yes. If the answer is no, then you need to keep brainstorming what you could do to get back there, because there has to be some way to get back there. Then ask yourself, if this worst case scenario actually does happen, could I live with it? Could I survive getting to this worst case scenario, worst terrible outcome that could possibly happen? Could I survive this happening if it does happen? Could I survive it? Could I just make it and live to tell my story to somebody one day? If the answer is yes, great, then you'll move on to the next step. The answer is no, then you need to keep working on it until you get to the point that you will be all right surviving the worst possible case scenario. You lose your job, your wife leaves you, your kids hate you, the world is laughing at you, you become a hashtag, people are making t-shirts about you, your video's up on some Facebook website and it's going viral every single day. You go bankrupt, you lose your cars and your home, you got to move back in with your parents. The worst case scenario that could possibly occur, could you survive it and just be able to live to tell another day without wanting to take your own life? Could you survive? Again, if the answer is yes, then you'll move on. If the answer is no, then you need to keep working on it until you come up with a solution that your answer is yes, I could survive this. I could see myself living through this and moving on to live another day. This is all part of the fear setting exercise. And then here's the last question you ask yourself. What are some of the things that I could do right now that could, kind of hedge my bets against this worst case scenario? So since this is the worst case scenario, what's some things I could do right now that would kind of preclude or prevent this worst case scenario from happening? How could I position myself to not have this thing be as bad as I'm seeing it possibly being? What could I do? If you have all your money in one bank account and you can lose all the money in that account, how about take some of that money out and put it in different bank accounts? So even if you lose everything in this account, it won't be everything you got. All right, what are some things that you could do? What could you do if you don't have insurance on your cars, how about you get some insurance on those cars? So if somebody blows up your car, at least you can get some money out of it and get yourself another car. What are some things that you could do to prevent the worst case scenario from being the actual worst case scenario? This is all part of the fear setting exercise. So any of you who have trouble with anxiety or trouble with worrying, you feel like this is a bad habit that you have, use the fear setting exercise. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm not going to sugarcoat it and tell you, let's just act like it's not happening, or don't worry about things, or cheer up, because none of that's actually going to help you. What is that going to do? It's going to drive you deeper into the worry and deeper into the anxiety. So let's dance with the anxiety. Let's dance with the worry and say, all right, we're going to acknowledge the worry, acknowledge it for what it is so you can see it. And now you're going to write down all the worst that could possibly occur. And now that you've written it down and you've acknowledged it, what happens is the worry doesn't have to make so much noise in your mind. It doesn't have to keep rearing its ugly head in the front of your consciousness, because you have given it what it wants, which is just to be acknowledged. It just wants to be acknowledged that it exists. Now that you've done that, now the worry can calm down. And since you've done that and dealt with it in such a way, you can stop strangling yourself with it. In my book, 25 Reasons to Quit Worrying, if you didn't know, I wrote a book called 25 Reasons to Quit Worrying. You can get it as part of the Clarity Bundle at workonmygame.com/CB, standing for the Clarity Bundle, the letter C and the letter B. In that book, 25 Reasons to Quit Worrying, I explained to you at the very beginning that worry, the actual word, it comes from the Old English Wyrgan, W-Y-R-G-A-N. That's the word, how it's spelled. That's the origin of the word worry. And you know what that word means? The literal translation of Wyrgan? It means to strangle. So when you are worrying, you are literally strangling yourself mentally. That's not a good visual, is it? But this is an exercise, a fear setting that's based in Stoic philosophy. And I detailed even more of that fear setting exercise in masterclass number 1372. So if you have not listened to masterclass number 1372, the title being Fear Controls You Only with Your Permission, go and listen to that. Again, that's masterclass number 1372. So take a look at that worst case scenario. Consider how you would handle it if it does come to fruition. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to stop worrying in advance. Third thing you have to do is trust yourself. By trust yourself, what I mean is, you know that in your life up to this point, since you are worrying and you're feeling anxiety, that's probably because you have experienced something in your past that was kind of close to, or maybe it was a worst case scenario. You have been in situations where things really went poorly from where you wanted them to go. They went really terribly and it was a terrible outcome. You don't want that to happen again. And because you've seen a terrible outcome before, you know what it feels like to experience a terrible outcome. That's why you're able to feel the anxiety and worry now, because you know what it feels like to see that worst outcome, and you can almost feel that feeling all over again now. The only people who feel worry and anxiety are people who have experienced terrible outcomes in the past. That's the reason why you can envision it before it even occurs. People who've never experienced a worst case scenario don't deal with worry and anxiety because they have nothing to project into their future that is terrible, because they've never been there before. So if you're feeling the worry and anxiety, you've been there. I'm telling you to trust yourself. What I mean is, since you have experienced the worst case scenario before, right? Here's the thing. And often that worst case scenario is something that you didn't even see coming. It wasn't even something you could project worrying and being anxious about back then because you didn't even know it was going to happen. And then it happened. But what happened is this. You handled it and you have at least survived to tell the story. Even if you handled it in such a way that you felt like it was kind of sloppy and clumsy and you still haven't gotten back, quote, on your feet, close quote, so to speak, you still handled it. You lived another day. You have survived to the point that you could tell someone the story of what's occurred, even if you are still in the midst of the story right now, right? I mean, you're alive to hear my voice, right? You could tell the story. You could tell someone how terrible it is, or maybe how terrible it has been since you're still in the midst of it, but you're alive, which means you are battle tested and you will survive whatever comes next. If you survived that means you can survive this thing or whatever you think this thing is going to be tomorrow, whether you can see it coming or not. Whatever's going to come up, you'll be able to survive it because you survived the last thing. So trust that you have the mental and the physical faculties of survival, that you will see another day no matter what craziness today and tomorrow bring to you. I'm just urging you to trust yourself, because even before, again, you didn't even know something was going to happen. It happened and you dealt with it. So you built the mental toughness. You are battle tested through going through things happening in life. You made it through. Now this thing, at least you can see it coming, or at least you think you can see it coming. You dealt with stuff in the past. Again, you didn't see it. You can see this one. I think you're in even better shape to deal with it. And if you follow what I told you here in today's class, I think you'll be in great shape to deal with it if it ever actually occurs, which most of the time it never does. So let's recap today's topic, which is how to stop worrying in advance. Some people call this anxiety, feeling fear in advance of the thing actually occurring. And also remembering that fear is just a feeling within us. Fear is not an actual object. Fear is not something that you can hear, smell, see, touch, and taste. Fear is just a feeling within us. A person does not represent fear. An outcome is not fear. Fear is just a feeling. It is not real. You cannot actually touch it, but it does exist. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but today's class is all about learning to calm your mind and being more present in your day-to-day, even in the presence of anxiety, instead of time traveling into stuff that hasn't even occurred yet, if it will ever occur. Point number one, stay in the present moment. While there may be some pending situations on your mind, we're not going to act like they're not. The fact is you can't do anything about them. So worrying in advance is time traveling. The problem with time traveling is that you can't do anything about the past or the future. And when you're time traveling, you can't do anything in the very moment that you actually have the capability to do something, which is the present. Point number two, do the fear setting exercise. Ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario? If it happens, how can I deal with it? Can I get back on my feet from there? And what are some things I can do right now to prevent the worst case scenario from even coming to fruition? So we will deal with it by actually looking at it so we can stop strangling ourselves, because the word worry comes from an old English word that means literally to strangle. When you are worrying, you are strangling yourself mentally. So this exercise is based in, if you're not familiar with, Stoic philosophy. If you're not familiar with Stoicism, I suggest you read Seneca's book called Letters from a Stoic by the author by the name of Seneca, Seneca. And I also talked about this in detail in masterclass number 1372. Fear controls you only with your permission. So look at the worst case scenario. Consider how you will handle it if it even occurs. If you're ready for the worst case scenario, anything less than that, you'll be able to handle it very easily. Point number three, trust yourself. You have faced adversity before, often adversity that you didn't even know was coming. So this adversity that you're facing right now that you think you know it's coming, you'll at least be able to handle this one. If you can handle the last one and you survive to tell the story, you can handle this one easily. You are battle tested. You'll survive whatever comes next, whether you can see it coming or not. Trust that you have the mental and physical faculties that will allow you to survive and see another day, no matter what craziness today and tomorrow bring, even the craziness that you didn't know was going to happen. Again, get that book, 25 Reasons to Quit Worrying, as part of the Clarity Bundle. You can get that at workonmygame.com/CB for the Clarity Bundle. Work on your game. Dre all day.